All right, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good, good. Dan asked me to come out and talk to you guys. I'm over Weber County unincorporated areas, and I'm also over Far West, Huntsville, and Hooper City. So he wanted me to talk to you guys about what's it like working for unincorporated and having to do 3 different cities under that. Oops. Oh, there we go. So how many cities do I cover? I cover 3 cities, Far West, Hooper, Huntsville, as well as unincorporated Weber County, which is a total of 757 square miles for one person. Yes, a lot of driving. How many different city codes do you reference? Are they different from the county? Are they similar? 4 total. Far West and Huntsville are pretty similar to the county ordinances. Hooper City is a little different. And when I mean different from the county is Hooper doesn't have a code about people living in trailers. So I get a lot of calls about people living in their trailers on their property. And technically there's nothing I could do because they don't have a code. So imagine the headaches that creates.
Hey, question, Alan.
Yes, sir.
So you say similar, but are they really similar as far as like weeds, signage, also they're really
Pretty much
about the same?
most of them follow the unincorporated county ordinances. Some do vary from different things. Like for example, with the trailers, we have an ordinance for trailers. Far West has an ordinance for trailers. Huntsville has an ordinance for trailers, but Hooper doesn't.
It's a kind of convenient.
And it's more rural and more agricultural and more been there for 50 years type thing. So
do you find yourself diving into their code when something comes up? You say, okay, I better go look and see what Far West says about this particular thing. Do you find yourself having to dive into all their separate codes to get clarification?
yes, all the time. I have to sit there and I have to know each code. I don't know the ordinances by heart, but I knew if I need to find something, I know where to look. If I can't find it, I'll call the city planner, have a conversation with him, and he'll help me find what I'm looking for. So,
A lot of juggle.
any other questions before I move on? Cool. How do you handle enforcement for all those cities? Do all the entities you serve have similar enforcement policies, procedures? Who is your typical contact in the cities? Pretty much all of them have the same policy and procedures when it comes to code enforcement, meaning I have to go out there, take pictures, send letters. If I don't get response to letters, then I have to send fine letters. If I don't get response to the fine letters, then I have to decide if I want to go and prosecute them. The main thing with the different cities is I report to the mayors for all 3 of the different cities, except for unincorporated Weber County. I report to my boss, who is the planning director. Now, one thing I've noticed with all the different mayors, you're dealing with 3 different personalities, right? You got some people who want to lay the hammer down. There's some people that just want you to continue to talk, hoping that you'll eventually get through to the person. And sometimes you have to tell this person, hey, man, I did all the talking I could do. What else do you want me to do? A lot of these mayors see these people as voters, and they don't want to piss off their voters, if that makes sense.
So why just based on complaints?
Yes. Well, with the cities, I get their complaints from emails. So I respond to their emails. With unincorporated, I get phone calls. A lot of the different cities, people call me and I have to tell them, hey, you have to go through the city. I'm contracted through them. So when they go through the city, it's up to the city to decide if they want to, file a case against that and send me out there. Sometimes they say, nah, we don't want to do this. We'll let it go. And sometimes like, hey, we need you to go out there and take a look at this. And especially with Hooper, their system is so bad, it sucks, because when I send out fine letters, I have to tell them that, hey, you guys got to send out a second fine letter if you want to get your money. I'm not in charge of collecting your money. And they're like, well, we don't have nobody in charge of that. I'm like, well, how do you get your money? So they're still trying to figure out the process of everything, and they're still trying to get me to do everything. And I tell them, hey, I can't do everything. This is where the hard line stops on what I can and can't do.
That's that tricky part you had in the last slide.
Yeah.
How's that interactive?
No, everything is reactive. Like I said, I'm only one person. If I was patrolling, I'd have to patrol 3 different cities, and I would never be at my desk. And county, yeah. So, how many cases do you have in a typical year?
No.
Oh, sorry. What is the biggest challenges? Plain and simple, there's only one of me. Each mayor has about 3 or 4 pressing issues that they really, really want me to dive into, as well as on top of the different cases that come in. For example, the mayor of Far West had me go out to a car dealership that they've been letting run without a business license. Well, they haven't renewed their business license in a year. And they want me to go out there and talk to these people, send them letters. It got to the point where I had to send a cease and desist. I had to go out there, deliver it to them. And the dude finally called me after months and months of trying to get a hold of him. He's like, yeah, my bad. I'll get everything done by June 1st. Go out there June 1st. What happens? Nothing has been done. So then I go back to the mayor. The mayor's like, well, let me think about what I want to do next. I may have you go out there and talk to him again and see, maybe you can pull some strings. You seem like a nice guy. He seems like he's willing to work with us. And I'm like, oh, he hasn't done anything. And you want me to go out there and try to talk to a man who hasn't done anything? Come on now, let's be realistic. So he wants me to hold on the process of taking him to court while he decides what he wants to do. So I'm like, dang. And then for like unincorporated, I got a call from this older gentleman who's like, hey, Mr. Coleman, can you come out to my property? I need to talk to you. So I get there, and it's this 70-year-old guy sitting by his truck. He's like, hey, I need you to go for a ride with me. And at first I was like, go for a ride with you? I was like, well, he's 70. If anything goes wrong, I could take him. So I get in the car with him, and this guy takes me to 7 different properties and wants to file a complaint on all 7 different properties. Then he takes me to his one of his friend's houses and wants to complain about the neighbor to his friend's house. So his neighbor comes out and was complaining, and, I want to get all this cleaned up. I can't sell my house, blah, 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 blah. I said, look, fellas, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm only one person. You tell me which one property you find out is the most pressing, and I will gladly take it to 100% to the best of my ability. But the other 6 are going to get a pass to the end of summer. You guys good with that? They're like, yeah, we're good with that. So they say, hey, we want you to take care of this guy. So I was like, okay, I dealt with the guy before. I went out there, sent him a letter. He called me. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get it cleaned up. He got it cleaned up. He got all the vehicles out of there. So I called Randy, and I was like, hey, Randy, lawn cleaned up everything. The property's looking good. He's like, well, what about the other properties? I said, bro, we just had a conversation about me telling you the other properties are going to get a pass to the end of the summer. And he's like, okay, that's fair. You did tell me that, so I'm not going to stress it. So it's kind of hectic out there, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. Any questions about that so far? Anything? Glad to see you. Good, good. How many cases do I have in a typical year? Last year, I managed about 89 cases. And I had a coworker, Iris, who just recently retired. She had a bunch of cases too. But mine was just 89, so it wasn't too bad. I don't want to switch. No, I don't. Yeah. But you have to think about those 89, how many of them drag out for months and months and months and months and months. You know what I'm saying? I do get complaints from the county commissioners. One of them came into my office and said, hey, one of your previous code enforcement officers didn't do anything about this property. I need you to go out there and handle it. So I had to send the guy a letter. He called me. He was like, hey, Mr. Coleman, can you come out, have a conversation with me? I want to know what's going on, blah, 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 blah. So I went out there. Nice guy, older man. He had like 5 vehicles broke down that haven't been driven, sitting on this little, he lives in the canyon. So when you go in the canyon, there's this road, and he has like 6 vehicles right there on the main road that just his neighbors don't like. So I asked him, I said, what can we do about these vehicles? His number one response was, I'm old, I don't have the financial means to move the vehicle, and I got health issues. You sending me this letter is stressing me out. And he liked to use the word disabilitated or something along those lines, where he couldn't do anything. So I was like, okay, well, this is what I'll do. I said, I need you to come up with a plan of what you're going to do, how you want to get rid of these vehicles. I'll take it back to my boss. I'll have a discussion with them, and we'll see what we can do to help you. He's like, deal. So I go back a week later to pick up this plan. He sits me down and says, Mr. Coleman, I had time to think about it. I didn't want to put anything in writing, because now you can use that against me in court. And I could tell by the look on your face, you're being a little defensive right now. And I said, look, Mr. Norm, I'm not being defensive, but I had an understanding when two men have a conversation and they agree upon something, as men, I should hold you accountable to that, just as vice versa. If I told you I'd give you a year to clean up this property and I came back to you in 6 months, you'd want to hold me to that year. So he's like, yeah, I know, but I don't have any money. I'm poor. I live on a fixed income and there's nothing I can do. I said, you know what, Mr. Norm, you have every right as an American to go back on your word and change your mind. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But now what's going to happen is I have to go to my bosses and they're going to want to know why you changed your mind. So I went back to my boss, Rick, told him the story. Rick said, hey, we got to take him to court. So I called Mr. Norm. I said, hey, we're going to have to go to court. He's like, see you in court. I was like, see you in court. So unfortunately, sometimes things don't go the way you have planned. You want them to go, so you have to sometimes lay the hammer down. I always tell people, I don't want to be the hammer and I don't want you to be the nail. And sometimes when you lay it like that, they get it. So which department do you work for? I work for the planning department. The last question Dan asked me, which I realized was an error. He asked me, do I like the San Diego Chargers? What he didn't realize is the Los Angeles Chargers now. But yes, I love the Chargers, born through and through. So short presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have for me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. LT, Junior Seau, Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates. Yes, I love the Chargers.
You just need to demonstrate something. This is the love that we have in the brotherhood of this, because he's a San Diego fan and I'm a what?
Los Angeles fan.
No, I'm a Chiefs fan.
Oh, okay. I was trying to sway you over. Yes, Mr. Bruce.
Three mayors. Yes.
My boss doesn't.
Sure.
Rick Grover. He's the planning director for my department. Yeah. So I always tell the three mayors, I tell them, hey, anytime I do a case, whether you like it or you dislike it, give my boss feedback so that way he knows how good of a job or how bad of a job I'm doing. So that way he can give me feedback. The mayors will probably give you a little feedback, but they'll tell you more of what you want to hear than what you don't. You know how it is when you have that one friend, hey, I like you, but no, I don't like you. You know what I'm saying? So that's in order to keep it equal. I just tell them, hey, give my boss feedback. He'll let me know how I'm doing. So.
And they're contracted, right? Most rescission. So
Correct.
he's reaching me used to do the whole vow.
Correct.
Even Liberty, all when they incorporated into
Their own city.
Kind of go into that.
city. Yeah. Going to
Well, once they took a vote to incorporate, and once they incorporated, they technically took $4 million away from our budget by incorporating. And that's why when Iris retired, they're like, hey, we're not going to be able to fill you another position or get you help just because we lost $4 million and we got to figure out how we're going to get that money back. I asked them, I said, hey, if they come to us with a contract and want to do code enforcement, can you tell them no? Because it was so much of a headache. You get a lot of stupid calls about night sky. And I tell people, hey, I don't work past 4 p.m. So if you've got any night sky problems, send me pictures and I can go from there. People don't want to send you pictures. People want you to go out there and look at it at 9 o'clock at night on your own time. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. So, I mean, it has its pros and cons. Not getting help sucks, but at the same time, I don't have to deal with stupid code enforcement issues. Who's my backup? Me, myself, and I. You know, they've been telling me I was going to get a radio for like 3 months now, and I still have not seen that radio. So I'm assuming it had to do with budget issues. I have a vest, and that's about the extent of what I got. Nothing. So I'm kind of out there on my own, which kind of sucks. No, man, I don't have no ends. I called the sergeant a month ago and asked him for some help. He never returned my call. So yeah, I was like, so luckily Dan gave me a number to call that's not emergency. So if I have to deliver the cease and desist orders, the cops come out. But I met the sergeant a couple of times and I called him and said, hey, I need your help with something. Can you give me a call back? Nothing. So I work a lot on my own, unfortunately.
so little plug. Alan, being a single guy in town, sometimes you get in a situation where you need support. And quite often, because of our alliance and the networking we have up there in our group, we're able to rely on each other. So Alan will call me if there's a situation in the neighboring city next to me. He'll call and say, "Hey, have you got a few minutes to help me with this?" And so he'll come and we'll write out together. We'll address it together. He'll bounce off ideas. We bounce off ideas to come to a conclusion that he works. And we've seen that happen with the different cities where they all have one code officer and then need assistance or need some help. But that alliance is united that way. And we go and assist. So when Alan's out there doing things he has, 17 of us that he can call on, say, "Hey, I need someone close to your area. Could you help us with this or that?" And a lot of it's just to protect himself from people accusing him of doing something inappropriate or wrong, or just if something he hasn't ran into that's something we may be familiar with, and he just wants a little, feedback on what he can do to mitigate it. So, the plug is that it works in a lot of ways for these type of situations where counties or cities can all afford a single officer. That our alliance doesn't let anybody work alone. They need help. There's someone always glad to jump on and help, whether it's cases or software that works or whatever. Our alliance comes together. It's great to hear the stories about it, but Alan and I have been, for the last couple of months, working on a couple of properties in Hooper together, and it's a testament to the value of having that type of alliance up there. Is that in his situation where the county can't afford to have more, even though 757 square miles, big area to cover, huge area to cover, and to think that he's got to do it alone, well, he's not alone, technically. He does have a lot to fall back.
And to speak on that, I remember for the property that Dan's talking about, it's a lady named Linda. She has 6 acres in the middle of a subdivision. She's been there longer before the subdivision was even built. Nothing but trash, probably 10 cars, a boat, broke down RV, cows, horses, all this other stuff. So the first day I went there, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Hey, Dan, can you meet me at this property? I need your advice on something. So Dan met me at the property and we were looking it over and we were discussing plans on how to attack this property. And we look over and I see Linda looking at us like, what the hell are these two guys doing out there? So she's staring at me, I'm all waving and she's still staring. So she finally comes over and she's like, hey, can I help you guys? I said, hey, Linda, I'm Alan with, I'm doing code enforcement for Hooper. You probably got my letter. This is what's going on. She's like, yeah. I've been trying to work on this for 30 years. It's just me by myself, blah, 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 which I get because Iris had worked with her before. And the previous mayor had told Iris, let bygones be bygones. But now since they have a new mayor, the new mayor wants to do something about it because they're getting a lot of complaints about it. So what I did is I had Linda sit down with the mayor, me, Linda, and the mayor sat down. We had a discussion. And I asked Linda, what can we do to help you? And the mayor was all in. Now that's the number one thing right there. You got to have support of your bosses, your mayors. If they're not on board to help you, you won't be able to get anything accomplished. So she said, hey, mayor, I'd like a year to get this property done. And the mayor was like, oh, hell to the no, I can't give you a year. And I said, well, let's compromise. Let's give her 6 months since she wants to do it all by herself. Granted, you got one 70-year-old person trying to do 6 acres of property by herself. She doesn't want help. She's prideful. I get it. But I said, Linda, we'll make you a deal. We'll give you 6 months to try it your way. After those 6 months, if they're not up to standards that the mayor feels comfortable with, then you got to allow us to bring people in and get the job done. So she agreed to that. So hopefully I visit with her every 2 weeks to make sure she's on task, to see where she's at. And I always ask her every 2 weeks, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Anything, these weeds are getting high. You need help with these weeds. She always tells me no. She said, I do need a dumpster. I said, cool. Got on the phone with the mayor. I said, hey, mayor, Linda needs a dumpster. She's like, what's her address? Got her the address. I'll get her the dumpster. Perfect. Cool. Thank you. So it's a good partnership to have.
Sure.
Honestly, I've been fortunate. I haven't had to do an abatement. Most people usually come into compliance. But so far, when I went to the mayor about possibly abating this property, I said it's going to be at least $60,000 to $70,000. That's how much crap she has on that property. And I was like, do you want to give her the opportunity to clean it, or do you want us to go in there? First response, let's give her the opportunity to clean it. I don't think we have that type of money in our budget. I was like, you can put a lien on the property, and eventually, if she ever sells, who knows? She may not. You may get your money tomorrow. You could get your money 10 years from now. Who knows? But what do you want to do? So she said, let her do it herself. And then after those 6 months, we'll look back into if we want to abate or not. We have to see how, most people are about money. That's the number one option is money. How much is this going to cost us? And if we do spend this money, are we going to get our money back? Nobody wants to spend money if they're not going to get their money back. So as far as the abatement process, I haven't done one yet. So I don't even know what our budget would be. So.
Question. Since you do Weaver County, do the city ordinances situation where the city ordinance is stricter than the county ordinance? Do we run that one?
Well, with unincorporated and these different cities, you have to understand that these cities have their own ordinance. So their city ordinance is gonna trump the county ordinances, right? So always. So with the city ordinance, like I said, certain things I can't enforce. And sometimes they'll be like, hey, what's the county ordinance? And I'll be like, this is the county ordinance. But unfortunately, you can't go by the county ordinance because you have your own, you don't have it in your ordinance. Now, if you want to rewrite your ordinance and have this, that'll make the situation a lot more easier. Like if you're getting 20 complaints about people living in trailers, why not write an ordinance about it instead of just not do nothing about it? So.
So talk about it.
Oh.
Your organization, I guess, this is a great example of that. Networking.
So as we were looking for a presenter, I thought it would be really interesting to see the difference between a county and a city, and what kind of dynamics that looks like. And so, as I voluntold Alan to do this, he'll tell you. And he agreed, but it was, part of this is that there's this trickster motherfucker, and Alan said, I can do it, but I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, getting into all the details. And it's like, we can work on the presentation material, we can work on, what to present, all this, we can work on that together. And so I know he got some phone calls from some other alliance members saying, can't wait to hear you. Little encouraging words, right? And then work together on the presentation and hold it together. But that's a part of what we do with the group, is that there's just that much support that we just step in and say, okay, we're gonna help in any way that we can. And so Alan and I worked together on the presentation, and I want to say the Chargers was actually my idea. No, I had no clue that they're not the San Diego Chargers. They're not my team, so I don't care. But anyway, so that's part of that. The interesting thing I think about Alan's position is that he did have boss Iris, and Iris, she managed a lot, kept a lot of it close, and not really engaged Alan in her cases. Because I think sometimes it's a hindrance, because Alan expresses a couple of times that people are calling and say, hey, what's the status on a case? I don't know. About Iris. And how difficult is that to tell somebody, I don't know? Because you want to be able to be open and transparent, and not to have that. And so it's with Alan now being sold, means he now has all the information and control. And certainly if they decide to hire somebody else, that would change, because this would effectively change on in the past. But Alan has been kind of handcuffed with the prior process, because he just hasn't had that ability to have that full vision of the county and what's going on. So Now he has more role because he's 757 square miles of one guy doing it all.
Yeah, and to add to that, Dan, imagine having your boss coming to you and saying, "Hey, what's going on with this?" And you have no idea because your coworker never told you anything about it.
Sure did.
And that coworker happens not to be in that day. So I'm like, I have no idea. And they're looking at you like, you have no idea? What do you mean you have no idea? You know what I'm saying? So now that it's just me, I stay ahead of the curve. Anytime I do something, anytime something's going on with the case, I let my boss know. So that way, if he ever gets a phone call, he already knows what's going on. He doesn't have to come to me and say, "Hey, Alan, what's going on with this case?" You already know. So that's one of the things I've learned. I also learned that with this job, you have to be big on communication. Not to speak bad on previous code enforcement, but communication wasn't their thing. Their thing was just do as I say now. And you can't be like that in the field, especially when you got people who are on fixed income, people who may have disabilities, people who don't have any means or don't know where to find help. Sometimes you got to sit down and have those conversations with them. Let them know that you're more there to help them to understand the ordinance and why you got to do something. Not just, "Hey, get this done by 2 weeks or I'm going to fine you $100. I don't like to go that route. I use it if I have to. That's my last resort. My first resort is getting out there, talking to you, understanding you as a person and understanding what I can do to help you and vice versa. So, another thing we want to talk about is why we came together, right? And like I said, I don't know if Dan said this before, but me and him had our first UOCA conference. We met, we sat down, we had dinner. Greg was there. Was Brock there too? And we sat down and we talked about all the different things we got going on in our cities. And Dan said, "Oh, why don't we go get together and form a group, a coalition, and talk about these problems and see what we could do to help each other out." And being a new person at the time, I realized how valuable that coalition is, man, because I had so many questions that I couldn't get answers, if that makes sense. So now I know I can go to Dan, I can go to Greg, I go, "Hey, I got this going on. What should I do?" And they'll give me the best advice, and I have no problem taking their advice and telling them thank you and all that stuff, and I appreciate them. Anything else?
We appreciate it. Mention how many years she had done that.
20 years. She was there for 20 plus years. And the crazy thing is when I first got there, and what people understand, when you do something for 20 years by yourself, you don't want to train someone else that comes on. As bad as that sounds.
And that's when I bring it up.
Yeah, you want to keep that knowledge to yourself because you feel like someone's there to replace you. And I always told her, I said, "I'm not here to replace you. I'm here to help you. If I can't help you, I can't do this job. If you don't want to show me the ropes, I can't do this job." So it got to the point where I had to go to my boss and I was like, "Hey, I feel like I'm not doing good at this job because I'm not learning." "Why are you not learning?" "Because I feel as though I'm not getting taught." So he had to have that conversation with Iris. And after he had that conversation with her, I started to learn new stuff and started to see more of the code enforcement aspect of it. So it sucks that it had to get to that point. But I also understand, like, when you do something for so long by yourself, it's hard to give it up and share that knowledge and share that information. I can understand, if Tom Brady had to give that information to his second string quarterback to be replaced, he'd kind of be reluctant to do it. But at the end of the day, we should be on the same team where we should help each other get better regardless. You know what I'm saying? So.
And I shouldn't speak on her behalf. She's not here. But having worked with her for so many years, that honestly was her outlook, is, the worry of somebody younger and more intelligent, understands it better, is going to, force her out and replace her. So as this is, as Alan was mentioning, this is coming together with him learning more. She's also learning the value of training up what's beneath her for when she steps out. Because at that point, correct me if I'm wrong, she was already talking about the retirement.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like a giant light went on for her. And she's like, "Oh, wow, yeah, I kind of did a boo-boo and, I haven't done my due diligence and hand the baton off to someone." And then she, to me anyway, I don't know if it's probably different for you, but yeah, to me, she just became like night and day on wanting to help and, everything else. And so.
And the funny thing, on her last day, she brought me in her office. She had all her paperwork, all her cases laid out. She said, "Hey, here's my cases. Good luck."
See.
Yeah. Actually, I brought my case file with me of cases that I've closed. So that way you guys can get an idea of what my process looks like. I know everybody else's process is different, but that's basically what my process I go through for every single city as well as unincorporated. Software, no. I have a program that Iris created that allows me to input different things. Like I don't have the ability to search properties and get information. I have the county's Geo Gizmo map, which gives me the basics, but outside of that, I can't go on like, I know Steve was talking about he can go on like a website or Spellman or something and see what the history of the property is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that option. So
Case two.
no, I was created with IT. Yep.
Did any of the then you have to loan this thing comes to you, it's all transferred by you.
Correct.
So
Well, no, I give them updates. Like when I send out a letter, I'll scan the letter, I'll send it to the mayor, so that way he knows. I'll be like, hey, 14 days from here, follow up with me, or I'll follow up with you, letting you know where we're at on this case. So,
only way
well, their idea of tracking is calling me and saying, hey, I need an update. So as far as like, fortunately for us, like far west, their attorneys are Weber County attorneys. So I can just go to my Weber County attorney and be like, hey, this is what I want to do. And he'll be like, well, let me talk to the mayor, just like with the car dealership. Hey, I want to take him to court. He's like, well, let me talk to the mayor first. So, civil, yes.
So we can, on that, all four cities are processing that. So,
Correct.
and that's something I wanted to pitch to the room really quick, segue into that. Okay. For next month's training, and I don't know if you guys are going to put that together, Leonel. Skip July, but August. I wanted to kind of explore that, so get some information on that. Who's doing it, civil, who's doing it, criminal, and the blend, and we can kind of put that together. Okay. Well, I love that idea. I think everybody like that.
And that's good because everybody's process is different. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's fantastic.
so breathe.
I agree with that. I think you want to put the survey together. Leonel, you want to plan on board for them? On this.
So one last thing before Alan sits down. When I talked to Alan about doing this, he says, I'm terrible at presentations.
I told him I didn't want to do a presentation. I wanted to have a discussion, so.
I think you did well on his presentation.
You did better.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
So if you want that on there now.
well, back to that. I think that'd be fantastic. Objects to that, like hear that. Oh, the earth or be great.
Oh, yeah.
You did?
No.
I was gonna say that's much for do what you do.
Yeah, I should some, like if it's license issue, then like who's like business, so I can be general with her, the violation or not. But normally citing it should be like in the top left corner. And sometimes
The better. on.
And there's still 12 people.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm going to confess some sin, Rick. No, to everybody out there, and this is brand new, so I haven't shared this with anybody, but I'm trying to get a group of people together to go meet with the powers that be over, a few different things, whether it be up on Capitol Hill, whether it be with the emergency services group, back there with some of my LEO group in here, Russ and I went and spoke with them at Post, so we got a better understanding of that and a few other things. But I'd like to get a group of us together. I don't care if it's 3 busloads of people, the more the merrier. But I'd like to pitch this as we get to the latter part of the year, and then we'll have arrangements made for the actual meeting, and then we'll descend upon them like locusts and eat their fields and tear down their houses and whatever. Anyway, you kind of get the idea. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it's too easy for the finger to be pointed in the other direction for, like you heard Alan talk about all the stuff that he's got and no radio, I got a vest, I got this, but I don't have a cut, so I really think the importance there for what we do, and I'm going to include animal services on this too, haven't been affiliated that forever, just because, especially with emergency services, because there really is a need for training on that aspect of stuff. When you're law enforcement, even if you're in fire, there's a whole plethora of things that you go through and you continue to get, trained up on. And, some of us in the room here keeping the LEO certs and with a background from that understand how that went. But we do have a new generation of code and animal services coming in that didn't have that type of training. And so that's something that I'd like to kind of throw to the state level for it to be able to trickle back to us to try and, help coordinate different trainings for no other reason than to prevent somebody from having another accident like we had with children. So any of you that might be of interest, please let us know. I'll give some detail and Dan on some of this. And Carl actually threw this idea. It wasn't the full idea. He threw it at me a couple months ago. He doesn't even realize that he did. And things just kind of progressed shortly after Russ and I went to Post, and I had a couple other chance meetings on some other stuff. I'm like, hey, this is probably a fantastic idea. So I'm pretty confident we can put that together. Also, we've got some legal people put together for the conference. Got some update on that. We're going to have Department of Ag going to be at our conference. We're going to be going into detail on the whole complexities with the Department of Ag. I'm really kind of excited to share with everybody everything from selling eggs in your back, backyard egg stuff, to the selling to the markets, to the everything that they handle on that end, up to and including the other end where, the homegrown stuff that you're going to be dealing with out there. Some of us do deal with it, didn't realize that till recently, as far as business licensing for produce and different things going to the grocery stores. They handle all of that different stuff. And we're going to have all sides of that available. And so we'll work the fun details of that out. FEMA is now going to be on board. We don't know directly who, but we're going to be having some people get with us on that in the coming months. For which one? For FEMA. Well, and that's kind of have to kind of get together. And they threw the individual I talked to, his name, his last name, he kind of talked about us actually maybe doing a half-day training and dedicating it solely to the FEMA sense. So I don't know how everybody would feel about that. I'd love to get some insight on that from everybody as we kind of move forward from that.
The concepts that we could discuss is that we have like 101 and then advanced. And that in parts of the conference, we have, for those that are new to code enforcement, that we have the ability to teach at a level that's not over your head, that helps you to progress in what you're doing. And then on the other side of the curtain is the more advanced, for those that have been involved for a little while to learn a higher level. And make it so that we're not either boring one or talking over the heads of another. So those type of opportunities are being considered for the conference, just so that we're able to help educate everybody and not make anybody feel like they're not getting the most out of the conference. So it's all part of what we're looking at in the next conference.
And then we could conceivably have multiple, the way things are coming together this year, kind of the snowball effect from last year's befuddlement conference. Now, yesterday I took a phone call for some other stuff that we put together. I'm not going to say anything on that because I don't know if that's positive or negative. Haven't been able to return the phone call, but I'm thinking it's more positive than negative. So we could conceivably need an extra room down there for, some of the training aspects of this.
To give you a choice of what training you want to go to, rather than just being forced to one, you get a choice of which training.
And then we'll have, some different discussions on that. And again, I can't emphasize enough that, trying to get people to be on committees and, different things of that nature. And, I've got my group in, putting trainings and informations together, back there. We're going to be relying on more than, and then moving into this next year, that's another thing that we've been talking about, the four of us, and including Michelle, and moving forward to get that like a day's training or something, a couple of special trainings like that put together through the year. So we'll see how everything kind of moves out and gets put together. And that's all I've got. I'm going to pitch over to the Prezi.
Yeah, how can you next July? So we can plan on
Frolic and enjoy the summer.
also start. Yeah, something is better.
And during those 15 years, I've been on the board of directors of UOCA for 12, a little over 12, been president a couple of times. I've thoroughly enjoyed my association. I was president when the Jill Robinson episode happened. Spent many hours up on the Hill with various politicians trying to figure out how we could make this job safer. Nothing happened. They wanted us all to be post-certified. That was their conclusion, that we all carry a sidearm and be post-certified. That was not a possibility. That would have eliminated many, many jobs around the state. And so we couldn't go with that. But over this time, I've thoroughly enjoyed being with you, Olka, and I would just challenge all of you. Find time to volunteer to be on the board of directors. UOCA needs you. We need good ideas. We need new people. We need new blood. We need new challenges, and it is very rewarding. And I appreciate all of you and your friendship over the years. And Gamisha, thank you.
Okay. So the Northern Utah Alliance that we have is meeting in July. It'll be on July 21st, Tuesday, July 21st. Anybody who wants to come up and just witness what we do, how we do our alliance meetings, you're welcome to join us. It's at West Haven City Hall, of course. I don't want to go too far, so I just do it right there. So anybody who wants to come and just see what it's like and see how we organize ourselves and how we do our meetings as a way to maybe, go back and look at create your own. We invite you to come and join us on July 21st. Since we won't have one for UOCA, you're welcome to join us in the new UOCA one and see how we do it. Just give me a heads up because we want to make sure we have no punches. So But you are,
So great for us.
you're really welcome to come and join us and see what we do. So, July 21st. Yeah. But they're pitching it over to the prez.
Yes, that's right. I'm giving it over to the president.
I don't really have anything else. So grateful everybody showed up here and online, and yeah, it's great anyway. Hopefully it's working. Is it working online? Maybe. Yes. Yep. Looks. Yeah. Got a thumbs up. So grateful again that everybody shows up and listens to the trainings and everything. We're hopefully try to get more people as time goes on. And like I said, we're working with our training committees and trying to get new ideas. So any of you guys have anything that you want to, have trainings on, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to work with anyone that, has the time and opportunity to share something with us that's code enforcement related. And so we will go ahead and see you guys in August. Thank you.